So Mario Party Jamboree is on the way. I'm reasonably looking forward to it. I'm not going to lie, I'm much more eagerly anticipating Brothership, but everything I've heard and seen from Jamboree seems to indicate this very well may be the best Mario Party in years. Hopefully that's true. Hopefully I can come away with this with a much more positive feeling than the last several I've played. 10 superstars. I've somehow never gone back to any of them, even though I regularly go back to two and three. So hopefully Jamboree lives up to the hype. But one of the things that really interests me about Jamboree though is that this is the big seller of the year. So even if Jamboree isn't the best Nintendo game of 2024, I think it's safe to say this is going to be the one that sells the most. Right? Considering the success of Super and Superstars, I think this thing is guaranteed to sell 15 million units minimum, right? This is going to be a phenomenal hit. People really underestimate just how popular Mario Party actually is. It is low key one of Nintendo's best selling series. It always has been. The idea of it is super appealing to people, and for a lot of people, it's some of the first. It's the first Mario game they play, right? I think I myself, the first Mario game I bought when it was new was Mario Party 2. So again, second game I ever got on N64, by the way. Yeah, people really, people really underestimate just how popular these games are and how much they sell. And as a result of that, I think people are going to be shocked at how Mario Party Jamboree easily outstrips Metaphor ReFantasio, which is the game that's being shilled by game journals this year. I honestly think at this stage that Metaphor is going to be this year's Baldur's Gate 3, where journos are pushing it to the forefront because it caters to their political agenda, right? Their communist, Marxist, woke political agenda. Uh, Mario Party probably isn't going to do that, probably, unless it has some weird anti-capitalist message or something, oh, having more coins makes you a bad person. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that Mario Party is going to outperform Metaphor ReFantasio. It is going to be the best-selling game, one of the best-selling games of the year, and it is going to be very well received. And I think this is the most important thing. I do think this is the Nintendo Switch release that is going to push the Nintendo Switch past the PS2. We haven't gotten a lot of Switch sales numbers recently, and we've been told for years that oh, they're slowing down, they're slowing down, they're slowing down. But I think what's actually happening is that we just haven't gotten a game that will appeal to a younger demographic and will do gangbusters, right? Everything that's been coming out is kind of established or targeted towards older people or older Nintendo fans or some weird Princess Peach spin-off stuff. I think Mario Party is the first game we've gotten in a while that appeals to general audiences and will encourage people to pick up a Switch for it, right? Again, we've gotten a couple of Mario Party games on Switch already, but if Jamboree really, really wins a lot of people over, I think this could move a bunch of consoles. I could see people picking up a Switch for this holiday season, right? Specifically, and then maybe picking up Brothership or Zelda on the side. But Mario Party, I think, is a major console seller. I think the IP does have a lot of appeal to people. I do think this is what people buy and what they're interested in when it comes to video games. And I think if this game manages to avoid any kind of political controversy, right, much like Echoes of Wisdom did, again, it's going to low key be this thing that game journals will neither downplay or prop up, right? And that's just going to lead to the situation where they're blindsided by its success, by its relevancy, and they're going to have a lot of problems downplaying it. That's going to be the interesting thing about this is if this is a Mario Party game that is more well received by fans than most of them, and it does the numbers that I'm expecting it to. Like, this is going to be like a very big black mark against the narrative. This idea that like the Switch is on the way out and like none of the games don't do well on it anymore, right? If a game like this sells like 15, 20 million units, like it's that proves that the Switch is still viable. And I know we this is a gaming industry that has somehow gaslit themselves into thinking Baldur's Gate 3 selling 15 million units sold more than Tears of the Kingdom selling 20 million. Like in these people mind in these the minds of these people, like Baldur's Gate 3 outsold Tears of the Kingdom even though we have the hard sales numbers for both now. So like again, like we keep seeing these weird copes and these damage control. Like, oh, Baldur's Gate 3 is the best-selling game ever made. It did way better than Zelda, which sold a measly 5 million units more like again, we have been seeing this like occasionally, and it's always amusing when you see like the double standard, but when you see people try to pull it off. But I do think it's going to be really interesting seeing a Nintendo game that nobody is really actively trying to downplay. Right? With Zelda, I was seeing all these really weird propaganda videos about how like it was ruining traditional Zelda dungeons and puzzles, and like Zelda needed to have a sword and stuff like that. Like Mario Party, I think is a lot more going under the radar. I really think most people assume that the other games this year are going to easily outperform it. I don't know what else is coming out in October. There's a lot coming out in the next couple of weeks, especially on other consoles. But like, I really think Mario Party could outsell most of them. I'll have to like check and see what it's going up against. I don't think it'll outsell COD, but like everything else, I think it's guaranteed to do better than. So like with that in mind, it's like we have a major Nintendo Switch heavy hitter this holiday season. We have like a follow up with Brothership. We have a follow up with like Metroid Prime 4 and like Donkey Kong Country Returns and stuff like that. Like, how is the console dying? Okay. Other than like Dragon Quest 3 dropping the ball the way it did. And it did drop the ball, and like you should not support it, and you shouldn't talk about it at all. Like, don't give Square Enix money. Cancel all of your pre-orders. Do it now. Even with like Square Enix dropping the ball with Dragon Quest 3 HD, Switch has a really solid lineup this year. Not as good as I was hoping for. This is like kind of a weak year for Switch overall, but definitely a little bit better than I was expecting, right? And I do think Mario Party is going to be like a big hit for them. I do think this is going to be the game that pushes Nintendo into outselling the evil PlayStation 2.